Welcome back to another console collector video. Up next, part 13. Now we have the legendary Nintendo DS from 2004. Its original retail price was $149 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $202 US. The Nintendo DS, or simply known as the DS, is a handheld game console developed and released by Nintendo in November 2004. The DS, short for dual screen, introduced distinctive new features to handheld gaming. Two backlit LCD screens working in tandem, the bottom one featuring a touchscreen, a built-in microphone, rechargeable battery, and support for wireless connectivity. Both screens are encompassed within a clamshell design similar to the Game Boy Advance SP. The Nintendo DS also features the ability for multiple DS consoles to directly interact with each other over Wi-Fi within a short range without the need to connect to an existing wireless network. They could interact online using the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection service, which is no longer in service. Its main competitor was the Sony PSP. The DS was essentially a portable N64. Several popular N64 titles were ported to the DS. The original DS used a brand new slim cartridge chip for its games. It's also backwards compatible with GBA games. However, it's not compatible with original Game Boy or Game Boy Color games. So this is the original DS. Clamshell design. So it protected the screens when it was closed. Got a rechargeable battery there. Here is the Game Boy Advance slot, so you could play your copy of E.T. or you could take your new DS cartridge, like New Zealand Story, and put it in the top, which I already had a game in there, Metroid Prime Hunters demo. So you could run two games in it at once, similar to the game console. Now on the back side of the console, you have your stylus, which would slide out. You could open it up, and the bottom screen is touchscreen. You could do your thing there. When you were done, keep it in its convenient little holder. So you got two speakers here at the top. You got your D-pad, your A, B, X and Y buttons, select and start, and your power button. And then on top you have your shoulder buttons. Nintendo released a revised version of the DS in June 2006, named the DS Lite. It was smaller, lighter, and brighter version of the DS that kept all the same features as the original. It came in a variety of colors and kept the backwards compatibility of GBA games. So this here is the DS Lite. This is a metallic blue version, so it's much more slick and sleek, smaller, flatter. This by far is probably your best bet for an original DS. Same clamshell design, just overall nicer looking unit. Now you had a little protector for the GBA port. You still run your DS games in the top. Now the power button's on the side, opposed to inside, and your DS stylus is on the side. Make it a little more accessible when it's open. Just pull it out and play, instead of having to reach it from the back. And then you got your volume control here and a headphone port there. So that's the DS Lite. In April 2009, Nintendo released another revision of the DS called the Nintendo DSi. Consumer demand convinced Nintendo to produce a slimmer handheld with larger screens than the DS Lite, and with that, the DSi was born. The DSi was basically the same system as the DS Lite internally, but the backwards compatibility with GBA games was removed, as well as the overall size was larger with a sleeker appearance than the DS Lite. The DSi had a built-in camera this time around. So, this here is the DSi. The built-in camera, pretty similar to a DS Lite. You got your shoulder buttons. Now you have a charging port here, DS slot, headphone jack there. They removed the Game Boy Advance compatibility. You got an SD card slot now, volume there. The stylus is in the same similar location, nice convenient place. Inside's virtually the same as DS Lite, but it does have larger screens. Not a bad system, but again, losing the Game Boy Advance backwards compatibility really, I feel, makes it not as good as the DS Lite. So in March 2010, Nintendo released another variation of the DS, a larger version of the DSi. This was called the DSi XL. The same features as the DSi, but with much larger screens. So this here is the DSi XL. This is the 25th anniversary Mario edition. So now you have the camera up front, shoulder buttons, same charging port, same DS slot, headphone, volume, SD card. Literally the same as the DSi. No backwards compatibility, but much larger screen. So in comparison, you can see it is much larger, which was good and bad. Some people preferred the original DSi because the games fit better. On the DSi XL, the game image was a little bit stretched out. So you have the DS Lite, the DSi, the DSi XL, and the original DS, all in the family of the DS. So the DS had a vast library of games, from Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, even Resident Evil appeared on the DS. Lots of third-party games as well. The rarest game for the DS is My World, My Way. Its best seller was New Super Mario Bros. And the final game released was Frozen, Olaf's Quest, Big Hero 6 2 Combo Kart. That's gonna wrap up the Nintendo DS. The PlayStation Portable is up next, from 2005. Its original retail price was $249 US. Adjusted for inflation, that's $328 US. The PlayStation Portable, also known as the PSP, is a handheld game console developed by Sony Computer Entertainment. It primarily competed with the Nintendo DS. The system launched in North America in March 2005. The PSP was the most powerful portable console when launched. It was the first real competitor to Nintendo's handheld domination after many challengers like the Neo Geo Pocket Color, Sega Game Gear, and the Nokia N-Gage had failed. Its high-end graphics made the PlayStation Portable a major mobile entertainment device. It also features connectivity with the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3, also Windows, Mac, and other PSPs, and the Internet. It is the only handheld console to use an optical disc format. They were called Universal Media Discs, UMD. That was its primary storage medium. The PSP was met with positive reception by most video game critics. There was a vast library of UMD movies released for the PSP as well as games. The PSP truly was more than just a game console, but an all-in-one portable media device. So this here is the very first version of the PSP, the 1000 model. It's got a little analog stick right here, which is very nice. You got your D-pad. Here you got a home button, volume up and down, PSP logo. Here you've got volume or music settings, select, start. You got your action buttons, you got your charging connector there. This was a special connector for the headphones. You got shoulder buttons, you got USB connection port there. Here's your power on and off. Very nice back. And then this little slot here would turn on the wireless on and off. And then here is where the UMDs would go. So here's what a UMD looks like. This is Dawn of the Dead, the movie. So a little disc like this. What's great about these is because only a little bit is exposed, it was very rare to have the disc scratched. So you'd open up your slot here, drop the disc in like so, close it, you're ready to go. Now, there were several different models that were released, including the PSP Go, which looked more like a sliding cell phone than a gaming console. The PSP Go completely removed the UMD disk drive and was Sony's first ever digital-only gaming device. There were several colors and special editions of the PSP and PSP Go over the console's lifetime. So here is a different version. This is the second revision of the PSP. It's a nice blue metallic. Pretty much the same features, it's just a little bit nicer, different color. And then the PSP Go. This little guy. This thing is much different. It's a very nice pearl metallic white, but this is the unique feature, is it actually slides up to reveal your action buttons, your mini joystick, your directional pad, start and select. On the back, just standard, no UMD drive, but you got your shoulder buttons, your volume controls, etc. So again, this was digital only. You could only download games onto this from the PlayStation Network. So very small in comparison to the other PSPs. As you can see, it's almost the size of just the screen. Hardware shipments ended worldwide throughout 2014, with the PSP have sold 80 million units in its 10-year lifetime. Productions of UMDs ended with the closure of the last Japanese factory in late 2016. The PSP saw great titles like Mega Man Powered Up, Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles, and even Silent Hill and Need for Speed made appearances on the PSP. The best-selling game for the PSP was Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. One last thing to add on the PSP, it had a very unique accessory, which is the PlayStation Portable camera. Yep, the camera. So that is going to wrap up the PlayStation Portable. Up next is one of the rarest handheld consoles of all time, the Gizmondo from 2005. Its original retail price was $400 USD. Adjusted for inflation, that's $526 USD. The Gizmondo is a handheld gaming console developed by Tiger Telematics, not to be confused with Tiger Electronics, who were responsible for the LCD Tiger handheld games in the 90s. The Gizmondo was released in the UK, Sweden, and the US starting in March 2005. Before its launch, the Gizmondo had high expectations by some journalists due to its extensive feature set, and it was aimed to compete against Nintendo and Sony. However, it ended up as a major sales failure. The company spent millions on promotions despite never making a profit. Its American debut was delayed several times, with a widescreen version that was announced shortly before its release, resulting in lower sales. The high initial launch price also contributed to its failure. The Gizmondo launched in the United Kingdom with only one game, Trailblazer. The console launched in the United States with a lineup of 8 titles, including Trailblazer. In addition to these 8, 6 others were released in Europe only. A further 30 titles were known to be in development for the system, but all were cancelled before the release due to Tiger Telematics bankruptcy. All games released in North America were effectively launch titles. The games were stored on an SD card format chip similar to the Nokia N-Gage. The ability to purchase Gizmondo games was limited. In the United States, games were only available through a small number of kiosks located in shopping malls across the country. After Tiger Telematics bankruptcy, the Gizmondo and its games were left without any proper marketing or distribution. By February 2006, the company was forced into bankruptcy after amassing a $300 million debt, and with that, the Gizmondo stopped production. With fewer than 25,000 units sold worldwide, the Gizmondo was named by GamePro as the worst-selling handheld console of all time. The best-selling game on the Gizmondo was Sticky Balls. So this is the Gizmondo handheld. It kind of reminds me of the Toy Story alien head, where it's got the shoulder buttons up here. You got your pretty stiff D-pad here, then your action buttons, a speaker, number of buttons here, and you got your charging cable port here, as well as headphones, and then here's where the game carts would go, and it's just a little tiny SD card. Very strange shape of the camera here. There's this rubbery coating on here, which the Gizmondos are famous for not surviving the test of time. It's actually very sticky and poor quality. So yeah, that's the Gizmondo. Only 25,000 were ever sold in the entire world. A pretty rare handheld. That's going to wrap up the Gizmondo. Alright, that's it for part 13.